Hey everyone, in this episode we're going to talk about the new romantic comedy sweeping the nation, Crazy Rich Asians. We're going to give you our thoughts on the characters, the plot, and more. This is episode 68 of the Reel-ists Podcast. Hello everyone, I'm Donnie.
And I'm Oscar.
And we have our producer Ruben.
Hello.
Hello, Ruben says, and you are listening to the Reel-ists Podcast.
I just want to point out that that's not fair that he said hello to this episode and not
to the other
episode.
one, not to your episode.
Because Donnie actually gave me time to do it.
I did. I gave him the floor to speak.
I was like the same amount of time.
And this is Ruben.
And this is Ruben, and he says hi.
That was not how it went. Everyone go listen to the last episode and tell me if that's not true.
It's like that Mean Girls moment, like, and none for Gretchen Wieners, bye. Oh my gosh. Well, anyways, thank you guys for listening. If you're a new listener, welcome. Hope you like our podcast. If you're a returning listener, thanks for returning. We appreciate it. As always, you can find us on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at Team Reel-ists, Team REELIST, no dash. And
You forgot the S. Lists.
Oh,
Reel-ists.
sorry. Let me do that again. Rewind. As always, we're on social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Team Reel-ists, Team REELISTS, no dash. Is that better?
There you go.
Awesome. Also, you can drop us a comment on iTunes and on YouTube. You can rate us on iTunes as well if you get extra motivated. Just let us know how we're doing and how we could better serve you guys.
I just want to point out that without the S, it would be another podcast.
It literally, yeah, it wouldn't be this podcast. Okay, look for the little orange and red logo with the movie reel on it. That's us.
If you're listening to it, you found it. Congratulations. Congratulations, you found us.
That's true. That is so true. Oh my gosh. Okay. We don't have any housekeeping, right?
No, we're ready to go.
Okay, let's jump right in. Crazy Rich Asians.
Yes.
It's sweeping the U.S. right now. Sweeping the nation, I guess.
It is.
It's good. It's doing really good. It's 93% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's doing really well in Hollywood in terms of being a successful movie. I just want to make sure that we don't point like it's not like breaking records necessarily,
right.
But it's doing really well.
Yeah.
Then that's really awesome.
It is. And I think it deserves all the good positivity it's getting because I really liked it. You really liked it.
I really liked it. And it's funny because it's like romantic comedies aren't getting necessarily the same amount of attention these days by Hollywood. Hollywood kind of almost throws them to the same like corner of like small budget, we're not expecting much to get out of this. We're either filling a contract, fulfillment obligation situation, or we're
I mean, rom-coms were definitely like doing their thing back in like maybe early 90s, late 2000s.
Yeah, that's
like when like the pinnacle, I feel like, of like every film was a rom-com, and like a rom-com could easily be like number one at the box office. And
I mean, I don't blame it necessarily. There was an abundance of them too.
Yeah, there was. Like,
so it's like you got a lot of it, and so now you don't have many of it. So now when a good one comes out,
since we're just on the topic of rom-coms, can we just throw out a couple of our favorites? I'm gonna go first. Mine, I think I might have said it before. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. That's one I can just like watch over and over and over. Like, such a good one. Ruben, what's yours? Or just one that comes to mind?
Never Been Kissed.
Never Been Kissed. Oh yeah, that's right. Drew Barrymore. Okay, all right.
Does 13 going on 30 count?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we had that conversation before. Yes, 13. That's a good one too. Jennifer Gardner. She's coming up in Peppermint. Catch that in theaters soon.
Oh, you're just promoting her. Okay.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Jennifer Gardner.
I'm not saying that that's my like favorite. That's just one that I can recall.
Yeah. Okay. That's just like one I can think of right now.
That I've seen.
Okay. All right.
My initial response was I wanted to say Mean Girls, but I don't think Mean Girls was a rom-com.
All right, back to. Let's not take the focus off of Crazy Rich Asians here, Oscar. Geez, come on, have some respect.
Okay.
Okay. Rachel Chu is happy to accompany her long-time boyfriend Nick to his best friend's wedding. Sorry, there's a little smudge on my phone.
I was like, he's really extending the log. A log?
I couldn't see. Rachel Chu is happy to accompany her longtime boyfriend Nick to his best friend's wedding in Singapore. She's also surprised to learn that Nick's family is extremely wealthy, and he's considered one of the country's most eligible bachelors. Thrust into the spotlight, Rachel must now contend with jealous socialites, quirky relatives, and something far, far worse, Nick's disapproving mother.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oscar, what did you think of Crazy Rich Asians?
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the like, I don't want to say competition, but it was like the whole like winning, not even winning the mom over, but just having to go through it. I really enjoyed that aspect. I really liked Constance's character. I feel like she really was grounded in a way that I believe, like, you know, she would react like this way naturally as like a character, as a person, rather than like, oh, this, you know, superficial character that's just like, oh, you're rich, and therefore, you know, I want all the lives and all the things that you probably, that a movie can probably go with like, oh, finding out someone's rich and now you're enjoying everything much more than it was. It really didn't go in that narrative, and I really do like that. It stayed in that same narrative of, this is my family and this is their fortune, but I'm still Nick. You know, I'm still the person that you fell in love with, and it kept that intact. And she wasn't necessarily, you know, she was surprised to hear that, you know, he comes from a family of rich, but she wasn't necessarily distracted by that. Like, that wasn't, like, she wasn't in the sense of like, what can we do now that we know we have a lot of money, or, you know, I want a big fancy, you know, party, or I want to go to the fanciest, you know, people, places, and all these kinds of things. She still just wanted to, you know, get through this wedding that, you know, he said, would you like to attend to this wedding with me? And, you know, I think it was, I'm not sure, was it a family member that was getting married? Well, can't even say it. Family member getting married, or was it
like
a
his
friend?
friend.
It was a friend, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But
I mean, they all ran in the same circles because they were all from very wealthy,
right,
you know, families. And
so to her, it was just like, we just got to get through this. Yeah. I know I'm meeting your family for the first time, so that's another, like, I have to just get through that hurdle. And it was just fun. I'm sure you probably can agree, but Awkwafina stole the movie.
Yeah.
She definitely
was hilarious.
She definitely made it much more enjoyable. Each time she was on screen, I got excited. I knew that there was going to be some funny moment, whether she says it or something physically. So I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. All that to say that I really did enjoy what the movie went, like the route it went with as its story, rather than like a cliche, like, you know, she got all distracted by all the money and she realized, you know, that's not what he's there for. You know, it didn't go any of those kind of romantic comedy routes that I can easily see it going for just a quick, you know, like, oh, but they still got together at the end kind of cliche route. But,
I mean, they did get together at the end.
They did, but it felt natural.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to the character for Nick a little bit, because I think you probably want to mention it. How he was too perfect in that sense, but
I mean, sure. I mean, since we're on the subject, let's talk about it. No, just going back to what you said, Constance Wu, the main actress in this film, she was great, and I really, really liked her character. I think that's one of the reasons why I like this film so much, because she was very, very just relatable. She was grounded, and she just was really likable and it's not like she was like, you know, the most like charismatic person or the most, like, you know, super charming or anything. It was just, she was very down to earth and like kind of just like your average everyday person, but like still very likable in a way.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Like, it wasn't like she was, you know, even though she finds out she's dating this wealthy millionaire, but like she still was always stayed herself. Even, did I say millionaire?
Yeah,
I didn't mean to say that. I mean, he's just wealthy. He came from a wealthy family.
More than millions.
Yeah, way more than millions. Billions probably. But she, even after she found that out, she was still herself, you know. And it's not like she let that, you know, get her feeling all goofy or changing how she acted. Like, she was still true to herself. So I really, really liked that.
And I feel like the characters from the family, they weren't necessarily, they were realistic to the extent of, I can see people being like that in real life, but they never got superficial for the movie's sake.
Yeah. Like
the mom, like Nick's mom, never got to the point where I was like getting like, oh, I am watching a movie, because that's something, you know, a rich person wouldn't do. Like, all the act she was doing, she wasn't doing anything too big of like, oh, I'm super rich, therefore I'm going to do this, you know, crazy thing just because I have money. Like everything she was doing still felt like
it seemed like they were all real people.
Yeah,
like we were just watching kind of more so like
almost like a true story-ish based story. Yeah,
exactly. It didn't get too outlandish. I mean, some of the maybe the lesser important characters, like some of the friends of Nick, when they were like, for instance, when they did the bachelor party and they were like on that big boat, and it was a huge rave, and like that was a little like kind of throwing your money around, like, oh, this is what I can do. But like the core characters, the mom and Nick, and like the important ones,
you could almost say the money wasn't even like a factor. Like if you probably can take that away and just be like, oh, this was just a family where the mom has this like strict of, attitude and wants the kids to be disciplined and keep the family business going. So you probably still get the same story.
I'm not 100% sure, but I do think those ideals are still very much in like that, in that culture, and in that, especially with the traditional, like with the generation before us, like the parents, like that still have those kind of ideology, like you have to sacrifice and work hard and and do what needs to be done in order to blah 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 blah. Yeah. So I like that. I mean, that is true into some extent. So I like that they incorporated that into the film. That was really good.
Yeah, it was really
jumping back to Nick's character, because we're talking about characters. What you had kind of mentioned that I wanted to say was that Nick obviously was great. We loved him. Everybody loves Nick. He was great. He was charming, handsome, wealthy, good guy, nice guy. He was like the best man, I think, or maybe just one of the groomsmen.
No, he was the best man.
He was the best man at his friend's wedding. I felt like he was too perfect of a guy. He was too perfect. He never lost his cool. He never yelled. Even when his mom overstepped her boundaries and did something really, really shady, I think, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but spoiler alert, he still was like, he didn't yell. He was like just too good of a guy.
I think
we saw Constance Wu's character, Rachel, you just call her Rachel. Rachel, was a bit more flawed, but we still loved her. Like that's what made her endearing.
Yeah.
But like Nick we didn't see any flaws, so it kind of lost touch with reality for me a little bit.
You kind of can see that when they tried to paint that picture as well. The scene where I don't exactly recall the what's going on, but he interacts with kids.
Yeah, and that really just irked me for like a millisecond. That little, like,
you're just like we're trying to reinforce that he's a good guy.
Like, oh, and even at the wedding, this was at a wedding we're talking about. He like did this little cute little dance, like the kid was walking down the aisle and he did this little like hands up in the air kind of like playful dance thing, and it made the audience go aw, and it just reinforced and reiterated the fact that he's the perfect guy, So I'm like, come on, like, yes, we know he's great, but like flaw him up a little bit, at least towards the end. Give us something to let us know that he's human, just like you and I. Sorry, I'm like getting all riled up.
Oh my gosh, almost lost
I almost lost the whole setup here. Like Rachel, we knew she was like you and I. Like we related with her. With Nick, it was like I can't really relate to this guy.
With Nick, it became almost to that point where you, like us individuals, are like, I want to meet that equivalent in my life. Like, it was that kind of, like, fantasy, to speak. And I don't know if that's rom-com's goal, is to always have that, like, fantasy that, you want to replicate or have something similar experienced with. But I felt like it was that. I felt like it was, like, an intentional fantasy that you want now you're going to think of, like, man, whoever my love of my life is, I want him to be just, like, perfect. Just like, Nick Young. It's funny that it's Nick Young, because I said that and I thought the basketball player, but going for the character in the movie. Like you think that. I feel like that's what the goal was. I don't think you should have had to do that. I feel like there's so many ways that you can show to some extent that, he was such a good guy overall, or he was, a really great person to be around, or, be familiar with to that degree. But yeah, to make him almost seem perfect, and to go to contrast with the sister, Nick's sister's husband, who had the affair.
Yeah.
To go with that kind of twist too, of saying of like, well, here's a guy that just messed up or made a wrong choice.
Or that was his cousin, right? His cousin.
Oh, was it his cousin?
Astrid.
Okay.
and her husband, her husband Charlie. So there was kind of like that like sideline plot, like it was kind of running along, it was like the parallel plot,
which has a bigger plot in the book according to people that have read the book.
Oh, really?
So
okay, so that makes sense then.
Yeah, so it was kind of one of those, just like
it was the purpose of that to compare and contrast, kind of like the two
I would assume that that's the reason why they decided to keep that in the film, because there's things obviously with any book that we have not read.
I know. Right?
We'll just say that now, we have not read the book.
Listeners, if you want us to read this book, feel free to send us a copy. We would gladly read it.
Yeah. Gladly.
We would be honored to.
Just let us know you're interested in doing that in the comments and anywhere below, so we know that. So we can set something up maybe. But I feel like it makes sense of that kind of like, even marrying into a rich family doesn't mean you're going to be happy. I don't know what angle they were trying to go with. I don't know, book-wise and movie-wise. But I feel like it was to contrast Nick. I feel like that was the purpose of it, to say Nick's perfect, but he's so perfect that the people around him don't seem perfect. And I don't know. Yeah. I think that they try to set the standard for Nick too high. I feel like it would have been more easier if he was the one that was flawed, because he came from a rich family, so you thought he would have everything together, but he didn't. But it kind of seemed like, yes, he has everything together. He's rich. So I really do think that from a realistic standpoint, that was one that definitely is a little too hard to believe. I'm not saying that there isn't one person in the world that it may be like that fits that mold. But I feel like in a movie that's trying to get to a wide appeal, I feel like maybe that could have been something that they approached differently.
Right. And then speaking of characters, the mother, she was like a big part of this film too. Nick's mother,
which
Eleanor.
I appreciate her in terms of how she got to where she is in her life. Like, that's how she became successful. She joined the business with the husband, and like she devoted time in doing that. I really do respect that part of it. I feel like she was just one of those characters that is so caught up in her own head that she doesn't listen to those around her. And that's that's true. There are some people that think that they're always right, or have that kind of some capacity of like, you should follow what I say because I've done it right so far, or look where I'm
sitting
at.
right across from him.
Oh my gosh. Ruben, you believe that? You just said that about you. That's so mean. But
no, go ahead.
Yeah, so it was just one of those where it's like, I get from a movie presence, you definitely want that villain, so to speak, someone that you're just like you can overcome her,
right?
But it wasn't too superficial, as I said. So that
and
was
what I liked
part
about it too is like, she was the quote unquote kind of the villain, the antagonist, if you will.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you could respect her.
Yeah, exactly.
And understand a little bit where she was coming from and why she felt the way she did. And that's cool too. I really like, when a film allows you to kind of empathize with the antagonist and to kind of pick their brain and see why, know their motive,
right.
know why they are the way they are.
And I don't know if it's because I'm not rich to really understand of like, we need to keep the family tradition, or we need to, you need to marry someone that can help you run this business or like keep that going. So that's kind of something that I'm just not familiar with, to really be like, oh, I can see a relation to that. To me, it would be like, wouldn't you just want someone that is dedicated to helping the business over like this family blood? Like, why would, does family automatically mean they're the only one that can run the business? Is it just like that selfish?
I think it's one, but you know what? I feel like that's not an uncommon theme, like especially like families that come from wealthy, like you always hear the kind of cliche of like, oh, the father passed down his
True.
chair to the son, and his son's going to be the one to take over because they want to keep that in the family,
that tradition,
and what they built, they want to keep it for their immediate family. So I could see that, and
but I mean, I don't know, maybe just the way I'm seeing how life is today, I feel like there's been more of an acceptance of like, do what you want to do, don't worry about what, I don't know.
Which is what the mother said, Americans is the attitude of all Americans, because Rachel was saying, my mother encouraged me to follow my passion and chase my dreams, and Eleanor was kind of like passive aggressively saying, oh, you all Americans think like that with your heads in the clouds, kind of, sort of, so to speak. So it's like, and it is true. I mean, and maybe I think that's a generational thing too. Like, I feel like, at least, I mean, I feel like
this recent generation has that.
I definitely got that. I know, like people we talk to are all like, our friends.
But that's what I'm saying. And I feel like a lot of parents now are also kind of in that, like, go do that then. If you don't want to play this sport, I'm not going to force you to play it. Go do what you want to. I feel like there's been more of like an acceptance of, okay, you don't want to do what I've been doing for years, or.
But then we're called spoiled and typical millennials. Like walking around not being realistic or practical with their heads in the clouds, trying to, make dreams happen.
I feel like you're like agreeing with Eleanor.
Well, no, I'm just saying like that's the outlook. I feel like not even just like culturally, like not even just as Americans, but specifically like millennials, like our generation. So, but you know what? I don't apologize for that. I'm gonna chase my dreams. My mom is a life coach, and she encourages me to chase my dreams, so I'm gonna do it, Eleanor. Despite what you think. Calling you out, Eleanor. Ew. Eleanor Young from Singapore.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, well, I was going to say something. Oh, another thing I wanted to talk about. I feel like they did a really... I can't say this. I don't know. I don't know much about Chinese culture. I don't know anything, I don't think, about Chinese culture. But Same. I feel like from the film, and I have no idea, I could be very wrong, but I feel like I got a little bit of a sense of what they value. They did obviously a lot of beautiful shots with the city of Singapore when they were visiting, and they were showing, just like the buildings and the architecture. I mean, obviously they showcased Singapore in a very, very beautiful light, which was cool. And then they had the Chinese dialect throughout the film. They were speaking Chinese in a lot of the scenes, especially when we were talking with not us, but like when Nick Young was talking to his aunties and his grandmother, and his grandmother talking to Rachel, and they were talking in Chinese. So that was nice to hear Chinese, and not I feel like it was a good amount of it too. I mean, there probably could have been more, but what we got was great. And then they did a lot of close-ups with like them cooking food, made rolling dumplings and things like that. So I felt like I got a pretty, if you know nothing about Chinese culture, I feel like we got a little insight to it with this film, and it was really nice and it was really beautiful. I really appreciated that.
Yeah, it was really nice. I do agree. I feel like the transitions that they did in this film definitely helped. Kind of, I mean, I don't mean to say this as a promotion, but I feel like it did help, promote Singapore in a way of like that would make you want to go visit in person.
For sure, I sure want to go visit Singapore.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a great thing, it's not to the sense of like only as if you're rich you can go visit and you'll see all these things. A lot of things that they show you are things that you would see as a common person. It wasn't like, yes, a lot of the scenes for the characters took place in like the rich mansions, or like the things that you probably you need a lot of money for. But they still showcased a lot of it. The food, you can taste food without having to, be a millionaire. You can still go experience those foods that they showed. So, yeah, it was a really nice touch to have that. The one thing that I will say, just to finish off the characters, Ken Jeong's character.
Yeah.
I still just didn't find it. I still didn't find a reason to.
Didn't land with you
to stick with the character and say like, oh, that character fits so well in this book. I don't know if it's just him and his established movies that he has or his roles that I've seen him in, but he definitely took me out. And the character was just a little over the top. The wife was very calm and like humorous too. Like it wasn't like you didn't have to be so loud and kind of just like
obnoxious,
to necessarily portray humor, and I would challenge him to try to do that without doing. I know that's what he's known for, but
yeah,
I don't know what his goal is. If his goal is to continue doing what he does like that, then that's cool. But if he like wants to,
obviously, I guess it's working, right?
I mean, he's getting them roles, yeah. Or if he wants to, if he wants to be able to up his acting, I would challenge him to do that, but. That was just the one character that I wanted to mention. It was like the complete opposite to what Awkwafina brought. Awkwafina brought like a sense of joy and fun.
Yeah.
And it's
Speaking
her dad.
of Awkwafina, it was making me think of
Ocean's 8?
what I was gonna say was what'd you say?
Ocean's 8. I don't know.
Oh no. She was great in Ocean's 8, but no, I was gonna say it was cool that Rachel and her Awkwafina's character, I don't know her name, Go-Peek.
Oh, I don't recall the name.
Go-Peeklin. It was great that they were able to maintain a friendship like thousands and thousands of miles away. Like so good that like I can just be like, hey, I'm in your country, like I'm gonna come visit you, or I'm gonna stay with you for a couple.
Yeah, because it was a
days.
short notice that he asked him to come.
Right. It was So it's like that was cool. Although I was thinking, I mean, I have friends like 8 hours away that I don't even talk to like that.
To just be,
or, people just lose touch. Like I'm like realistic, like in everyday life, like everyone's living their life, so it's so hard to like maintain those friendships. So it was cool, and they were just. It's not like they were. I mean, it seemed like they were best friends in the film, but I think they were just like college mates, dorm mates, from what
people
they said.
That just,
so it's like
close friends,
very close, close friends. But it's like it made it kind of seem like they were like best friends.
But it wasn't like from five years old.
It's not like you and me, you know. So I don't know.
Try to compete against that.
Right, exactly.
I want to just quickly mention. I think the cast overall just was really incredible. It definitely was one that I feel like every role contributed to the film. It definitely felt like an ensemble film, I feel like it was a great thing to see. Just a lot of characters contribute, and it wasn't like Nick and Rachel were like hogging the light.
Yeah.
They did a nice blend of like getting to know like Nick's aunts. Like there was a lot of them that I can be like, oh, that kind of reminds me of my aunt, or that kind of reminds me of this person. Like it was still like they still had enough time to breathe other characters.
Or even like in the beginning when they were on the plane and he was like, well, there's my cousin blah blah blah, and then they do a scene with him and his family.
And you get like,
and then there's my cousin Astrid who you love, and you do a scene with her and her husband. So it was nice. They introduced. I think they did a great job. Obviously, I'm sure they were introduced in the book and they went more in depth as to who all of them were.
Sure. Yeah.
But it was nice for obviously someone like you and I who haven't read the book
to get a feel
for the
these other characters.
So
right.
that was really great. I really liked that. And like you said, it was great ensemble. I love ensemble movies where it's not just like one person or two people hogging the entire spotlight. It's everybody banding together, all these actors, giving all these great performances and to make this great film. So it was great. I liked it. I loved it. I'm not gonna say I liked it. I loved it. Did you have like a favorite scene?
My favorite scene. That's it. I actually didn't think much about that particular. So, to me, one of the things that stood out was when. I'm trying to think of like the scene context. It was like when she kind of essentially got the confidence to go up against the mom, to go against Eleanor. So she gets dressed by Awkwafina's character, and another family member from Nick's side of the family.
Yeah, one of Nick's cousins.
Yeah, like they help her get like the dress and everything, and she goes and she has that confidence, but she's not necessarily trying to like immediate not trying to strike Eleanor with like, you're not putting me down. She's just being herself, but just with confidence. And like, she's still respectful. Like, she's still respectful to the family and everything and the ceremony. And then she interacts with someone that was there that was like a highlighted, star person. And she bonded with something natural of a conversation about the math. I think she was a math. No, she was. I forgot what she taught at the university.
She was wasn't it a game theory professor?
I'm not sure what. Yeah, but whatever she was, like, it was over that she connected with this like A-list person. So it was just that nice kind of just like you don't necessarily need. I mean, I know the dress kind of may have helped her just a tad, but it was just more of like she found, again, similarly to the last movie, she found the strength within.
She found the inner strength to persevere.
to really just go against like what's being thrown at you. It's she wasn't like necessarily planning this entire scheme of like, oh, this is how I'm going to win her over, or this is how I'm going to show her I can stand on top. She was just going to be like, you're here, I'm here, we're going to get through this.
Yeah.
And so it was a nice like thing, and Eleanor kind of saw that. She kind of was just like,
She took note.
But I
she
mean,
noticed.
She didn't. I mean, it wasn't until when they actually had the one-on-one conversation that she really kind of got that respect, and she kind of finally won, so to speak. But it was a nice like, wait a minute, okay, maybe I misjudged you. Kind of. It started. It was like a little spark.
Right. Okay.
But I like that moment.
Well, speaking of that part, right after that part was the actual wedding of Nick's friend, and I think that was probably one of my favorite scenes. Visually, it was beautiful. The wedding itself was beautiful. I don't know if that's like a traditional I don't know if anything that they did is found in traditional Chinese weddings, but they released water onto like the walkway.
That was really nice.
And they were walking through in the water, and even the bride she
didn't
have
got pretty high too.
She didn't have it got high, and she didn't have shoes on. She had like this her legs and feet were decorated with this glittery sequency kind of material. And they were letting their trains drag in the water, and it was beautiful. It was like stunning. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And all the people in the audience were holding these kind of leaf like Thai grass kind of things, and it just was really, really pretty and beautiful. And pretty and beautiful and pretty and beautiful. So I really like that. And throughout that, while we were getting those breathtaking shots, we were getting beautiful, tender moments between Nick and Rachel, and they were staring at each other and saying, "I love you." And
so subtle,
the music was playing, and it was you felt like you were at a wedding just in that scene. And it wasn't even. It was supposed to be about Nick's friends, and I was like focusing on. Yeah, Rachel and Nick, and I was like, "This could be your."
Although it was funny that I will say that they both the bride and the groom get up to the stage or whatever, and then like they're married. Like it was.
Yeah, exactly. Like there was no transition. I was like, okay, let's kind of like slowly fade into them.
Right, and it was just
funny
because I was like, wait, did I miss something?
Yeah. It could seem like that. Like that. It was. They rushed it. They rushed they cut it.
Yeah, like they get up there and then they like next thing you know they're kissing.
So
it's
like I'm still like taking breaths, like wiping, trying to like wipe the tear from my eye, and then they pull the rug from under me and they're like, they're married. That's it. So it was like, oh. It was a little prematurely.
Yeah. I mean, I know it wasn't about them, but it was still like one of those just like, oh, okay.
Exactly.
Wait a minute. You set up this slow, like,
right.
Here
and
comes
the
the
pace
ride.
Of it was very slow and graceful and elegant. And then it's like,
they're married.
Rushed. They're married. And then they kiss really fast.
I don't even know if the priest or like who. Like I didn't even hear like if there was any.
I think it just went straight to them kissing and everyone clapping, and that was it. So it's like literally, it would seem like if you blinked, you would miss it.
Right.
You might be like, wait, what? Did I just miss something?
I was looking for like. My M&M's in this popcorn bucket, but did I miss something?
Exactly. So, I mean, that was unfortunate, but, still, that was probably one of my favorite scenes, if not my favorite
That's
scene.
Just a little funny hiccup. It feels like a hiccup to some extent.
I know, right?
Yes.
With all that said, final real score for Crazy Rich Asians.
I am going to give this a score, and this is, if you listen to the last episode, this was the reason. This was a movie that prevented the other movie from being able to crack my top 10. Because as of right now, Crazy Rich Asians has cracked my top 10.
Wow.
So with that, it is a 4.5.
Nice.
The only thing that to me was bothering was the pacing.
Okay.
And
it kind of slowed down in the middle.
Yeah, and it was just kind of like, where do you want to go with this? Because you don't need to extend the wedding or like the days leading up to the wedding if you don't have something to show.
Yeah.
And I feel like they wanted us to get to know, not necessarily they wanted us to get to know the characters. They wanted to still establish that whole like, oh, just because I'm a newbie, the family's out to get me. They wanted to establish this feel of, she's not wanted or welcomed into the young family, kind of, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like you got that in almost every other scene. That the pacing kind of threw it off. In the beginning, to me, it was a little confusing as well. Like, I knew that they wanted to establish that the family was rich. I don't think, like, that was the best way to start it off.
The opening scene.
The opening scene of the mom buying a hotel or getting the husband to buy the hotel. I felt like it was just an off pace. Because we know that the story is about Nick and Rachel. So it would have been nice if they would have done, like, a quick thing of, like, oh, Nick's family is buying a hotel. And Rachel's family is, living with their family member or something to kind of show a rich and not so rich life kind of comparison, but to show like, oh yeah, they just bought a hotel. 20 years later, Nick and Rachel are already they've known each other, so it's like it gets straight to like the point.
Yeah.
So, but it was just like we were gonna know, well, two things. One, we know that they're rich based off the title of the movie, and then two, there are so many things following that you're gonna know they're rich, and buying the hotel is not like needed to show that they're rich. I felt like everything else that they were gonna do in this movie was a way to show that this is a rich family that they're going into. So it was just kind of one of the things that threw me off. But a 4.5 is my score.
Sweet. Well, I'm right there with you, man. I'm also giving it a 4.5 for many of the reasons you said. The pacing didn't bother me. Granted, let's be a little honest. We were both a little. It was a late. The movie started like at 10:35, and we were already 25 minutes worth of trailers. We were already a little sleepy, so maybe that contributed to it unknowingly. But the pacing was fine for me. The thing that threw me off, like I said, I already mentioned it, was just like the two Nick being too perfect.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that I really was like, just make him a little more relatable, and maybe that is exactly how he is in the book. I don't know. I didn't read the book, but like I said, listeners, send me a copy and I'll read it. Would gladly read it. Would love to. But maybe that's how he is in the book. But it just seemed a little, I couldn't relate to him. But it was fine. I mean, that's fine. That's not a terrible thing. But I don't mean to say that it's not like that just completely ruined the character for me. He was still an amazing character. I loved him. I mean, he was great. He was.
You're just like, this is a movie character.
Yeah, this is a movie character.
This is a movie character.
Like if anybody is a quote unquote movie character, he's it. So that's probably the biggest thing that did it for me. But I mean, it was a beautiful movie. Great cast, great acting. I love the storyline was fun.
I know this movie.
The visual. I mean, all the scenery we got to see in Singapore. And just kind of sitting there going, damn, if I had all this money, like, what would I do with it?
That's so hard to resist of thinking that. And this movie was really well, and I really have a high bar now for rom-coms since, I
guess set the bar high.
I'm kind of late. I don't know if I should even watch some of these older ones and just like.
Me and Ruben could tell you like the good ones, I guess.
I think you'll like it.
I think you'll like it.
But it's better than other romantic comedies.
I don't have a good history to be
based off your.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of we can talk later, but yeah.
wait, our listeners like, but I want to hear.
Yeah, but no, I want to hear. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening. Well, not thank you. I mean, thank you. That's what I meant to say. But I always thank you. But that's not where I was going with that. Sometimes, like words just pop out of your mouth and you didn't kind of mean to say it. Ever happen to you?
I mean, if you listen to our podcast, yeah.
It's true, right? That's actually, you're pretty right. Let us know what you guys thought, listeners, about Crazy Rich Asians. If you loved it as much as we did, if it sets the bar high for other rom-coms. Also, you can let us know what some of your favorite rom-coms are.
Movies that I should watch.
And we need some suggestions for Oscar. I mean, I have some, but most of them are like...
Because all I have in my head
is 13 going on 30. Well, now you can see How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days and Never Been Kissed. Those are two more you can add to your list.
Yeah, that's true.
So let us know, listeners. Drop us a comment, YouTube, iTunes, or on any of our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We'd love to hear from you guys, as always. And thank you so much for listening to this episode. And anything else, Oscar? Any final words?
Just thank you, as always.
Gracias. This isn't. I was thinking of how else you can say thank you in another language, but I don't know. Anyways, good night, guys. We'll see you next time.